government assistance. And from stage left has ridden one of the old warriors of the Labour left, former Victorian federal MP Pete Steedman. Steedman now carries the colours for the rock music industry as head of an organisation called AusMusic, set up in 1988 with federal government funds and based in an old school in South Melbourne, courtesy of John Cain.
We had to sort of go in and say, look, we're not playing politics, we're not playing factional games on this, we're here to help everybody.
He's gone cap in hand to that other old rocker, Paul Keating, once manager of a 60s band called the Ramrods, asking for more funds to help the music business.
And he said, yes, he will do something. So I'm just, as I ring him on a daily basis, sort of saying, what are you going to do and when are you going to make the decision?
We're in a very difficult time. Everybody knows that. How hopeful are you of getting this done?
Well, I'm very hopeful because in the overview of things, it's a drip in a bucket. But for what we can do with that money for young people in terms of training, guidance and job opportunities is massive. And that's where the basic thing is. I mean, again, we can't turn around the whole economy on it. Although, as I've mentioned to people several times, the Beatles did save the English economy at one stage and ABBA didn't do bad for Sweden's. So if you put a bit of money, we might get the whole thing better, and with a more efficient industry, we may save the economy. A rock and roll level recovery, comrade, sounds a rather good thing.
You think that that's not unrealistic?
No, I don't.
It's against this background that Pete Steedman argues his case for government assistance. More money to create through AusMusic a peak body for the industry and a more formalised structure like others.
The music industry's greatest needs, strangely enough, is not musicians, because we've got top musicians, but you need competent managers, competent copyright lawyers, proper accountants, sound engineers and producers. Those are the industry-based things that are needed to make it work.
But there's been no training up till now, and yet we've gone from nothing to number 3 in the world. Doesn't that suggest that perhaps there's no need for this?
Well, it may. I doubt it, though, because it'll fall apart. I mean, what you've got to do now is sustain it.
But while AusMusic has the support of some industry figures like Michael Gudinski and Glenn Wheatley, others aren't so sure.
It's not something that I'd want to see eradicated tomorrow. I think it's probably been quite useful and reasonably productive.
It's not a wildly enthusiastic endorsement.
Well, no, I mean, I just think that the two concepts, the two ideas, what rock at least ideally is and what people like ourselves still, however imperfect way live out, and the idea of sort of, a bureaucracy of sort of, the rock department are very much at odds with one another.
Steedman's political background and connections are generally acknowledged to be a plus for the industry, as is AusMusic's program for schools, the rollover Beethoven troupe of travelling bands who introduced the various rock music genres to wild enthusiasm. But while AusMusic's training initiatives are welcomed, there's a lingering suspicion both of bureaucratic encroachment and Steedman himself, a politician forced by his own electors to find something else to do when they rejected him 5 years ago.
Somebody said to me, look at that old bodgy. He wasn't much of a politician, and now he's on this terrific sinecure, and he swans around talking to all his music mates, earning vast amounts of taxpayers' money and doing very little.
Is it the truth, do you think?
I really don't know.
Some people are saying that essentially what you did was to create a job for yourself after you left Parliament.
Well, if I did, I'm pretty smart and pretty clever, and I'm glad I did it. But I mean, people who say that are dickheads anyway, aren't they? What's the matter?
Why is that?
Well, haven't they ever created a job for themselves, or don't they think I should get a job after I left Parliament? Should I starve to death on the streets?
Even in an industry where diplomacy isn't the prime requirement, Steedman's forthright manner easily offends. But as the recipient of public funds for training and education, he's noticeably vague about the number of jobs he's created.
Well, we've already created hundreds of jobs, quite frankly. It must be getting up close to 100 somewhere around there now, around the country.
And asked later for a more definitive count, it was, said Steedman, too difficult to equate.
I have had money out of every state and territory government and the federal government, and that might add up over the last 3 years in the education area to a total of maybe $500,000. So, for a $2 billion a year operation, which is the Australian music industry, to get 500,000 over several years in education and training out of a 20 billion a year pot, I really don't think it's got my hand in it. I'd love to have my hand in it right up to my bloody shoulder.